Hey everyone, back again. This will be episode 8 on the 39 Plymouth convertible. Still don't know what to call this thing. Somebody referred to it as chicken shit. I can go with that. It's pretty bad. So anyhow, we're moving on. I finished up the mounts for the uprights that hold up the deck on the back, and I got the rearmost part of the floor tore out, and I'll just show you what that looks like. And it's not real good. As you can see, it's been buckled and all kinds of crap has happened to it. This whole trunk must have been pushed in a long ways for it to wrinkle all this floor up this bad. I would say probably 4 or 5 inches it was pushed in. All the sides are all kinked and bent. And then there's the rust. There is virtually nothing left of this thing. There's brass. It's been braced together where it was broke apart, both sides, and nothing but Swiss cheese. So I did find there's 3 mounts here, and I'm thinking they must have been supports for the back of the deck that were cut out because they were torch cut. You can pretty well see that it was torch cut there, and then the corresponding pieces in the back here in the deck lid opening. You can get a really good look now. I think you can see how this side of the deck goes way down compared to the other side. So yeah, it's going to be a real chore trying to get this sorted out. But here's what I did in the back. I made a bracket that went down. I plug welded it in 4 spots to the cap piece I made. Put some brackets in. That's really strong now. So I think first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to continue these cap pieces I made back to tie into the mounts here. I'll put a strip across to support everything, and then I'll start working on the replacement floor that goes in on the back here. So we'll get started on this this next video and see what kind of trouble we can get into. Here we are again, another new day, another new week, Sunday morning, and I've got this all tore apart like I showed in the last clip, and trying to figure out a plan on where to go. So the whole back end of this car, as I've said, has been really screwed up, pushed in. The inside of it here, I don't know if you can see. Okay, we had a little bit of a technical glitch there. Not sure what happened. Might have hit the button, but anyhow, like I was saying, the inside of this is all screwed up. The original roll pan was rusted out, and instead of cutting it off and making a new one, they just welded or screwed pieces of steel over top of it, filled it full of lead and Bondo, and called it good. So I don't have a good shape to go from back here right at the moment. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'm going to pull these stiffener pads off, and using my I-beam underneath as a buck, I'm going to straighten this out the best I can to figure out where the bend down went at the back. And then I'm going to make a pattern for a piece of 18 gauge that will come from here to here. And I'm going to make that piece, and I'm going to bend a 1-inch flange down the back on the, using the, that thing over there that I can't remember what it's called, the bead roller. Holy cow. Might have thought I drank too many Bud Lights yesterday, but so that's what I'm going to try and do. There's no other way. There's nothing else I have that'll give me an exact shape of the way the rear of this car is supposed to be. And then I'm hoping I can use this piece, get it straightened out enough to make the inner roll pan that passes to the rear here. So anyhow, that's what I'm going to try right now. I'm going to try and get this tore apart, straightened out, and we'll make a pattern off of it. Well, it's amazing what you can end up with after about 10 minutes, a couple of big hammers. So that came out really straight. And the one thing I found is there's a really nice crisp line that goes across where this was broke down. So I think I can use that for my pattern. It's a little bit wishy-washy here, but I'm thinking I can use this side, flip it over, and then mirror image it. So I'm going to figure out how long this piece needs to go into the trunk, and I'm going to start cutting it out and get it made up here, and we can get that first chunk fastened into the car and then go from there. Straightened out the best I can get it. So what I've got is a fracture right along the crease where this was bent. So I'm just going to finish cutting anywhere where this crack is. I'm going to follow it here. I drew a center line down the center of the car here, and I'll make a pattern from this side over, and I should be able to just transfer it over to the other side of the piece that I'm going to cut out, and then I can just mirror image it. Okay, everybody, I got this all straightened out the best I could. I transferred my center mark to the underside of the piece of rotten steel here. I cut a square piece of beer case for a pattern, and I clamped it dead straight along that center line. Now I can transfer this line onto this, and then I'll just make a mirror image for the other side, and we should have a really nice pattern for our trunk floor, I guess. We'll see. Okay, guys, I got the pattern all made up. This was the first half. Now, there was a few irregularities in the back edge here because of this crack that's opened up. So I have a stainless steel 18-inch rule, and what I did was used it with a curve to straighten this line out. I don't know if I can do this one-handed, but you can set that on, and I just put a clamp to hold one edge, bend it around, and then that straightened my line. So once I had this side done, I mirrored it on the other piece of cardboard that I had cut, and then I taped the two of them together exactly on center. And I must have had my measurements right because this edge at the back ended up perfectly square. And the really cool part is it fits in the back here perfectly right on the mounts. Whoa. Okay, I'm going to have to get this in there. Okay, we'll try this again. I've got it set in there. It's not sitting exactly flat, but it sat down perfectly on the mount holes on both sides. So now what I'm going to do is mark this out on a piece of steel. I'm going to leave 3/4 of an inch on the back to turn down, and I believe I'm going to leave the same on the front here to turn down. Possibly. We'll have to see how it looks from underneath. So anyhow, I'm going to get that out, get it marked on a piece of steel, and we'll carry on. Okay, everyone, we got the pattern marked out here. I marked the holes. I used the nickel trick again for getting my 3/4 of an inch turnover here that I'm going to do on the bead roller, and then I left about 5/8 of an inch on each end to turn down as well. I'm not sure if I'm going to need that, but I wanted to leave it just in case. So the next thing I'm going to do is make some sparks, get this cut out, and then get that piece rolled over. Okay, almost screwed up big time. I went to start putting in, or to bend this flange down, And remembered I have to put my bead rolls in before I do that, otherwise it won't go through the bead roller. So I got everything marked out. There's going to be 3 beads on each side because I only have 18 inches of reach. So the center will be left. And then on the opposite side I put the same marks because I'm going to pre-stretch it where those beads go in the English wheel. I find far less warpage when you do that, especially using the 1/2 inch bead roller. Okay, we got, I put about 6 passes in each side with quite a bit of pressure in the English wheel, and it introduced quite a bit of warp. So now when I go to press my beads in, it should take it back probably just a little bit past straight. So, okay guys, we got all the beads rolled in. Just going to coin them all now. Again, we want one whack per. Move her along here. Still got a fair bit of warpage in it here. Okay, I'll do the other side and then we'll start putting that brake in the back side of it. Okay guys, I got about half of the tip down in this, and as you can see, it's introduced a whole whack of curve in it. So once I get this tip to 90 degrees, I'm going to take it to the shrinker and we'll get it all straightened out nice and flat so that it does what it's supposed to do. Okay guys, I've got this piece pretty much fabricated. I built the 2 stiffeners that go on the ends here. They get plug welded to the panel, and that stiffens it up for bolting to the mounts. But I do have one issue, and I'll just show you here. We have a real oil can issue right here in the floor. You can see it pops up and down. So I'm going to leave this for now. I have to do a cut here and relieve it. This has to come up slightly for my channel to come back and tie in. And what I'm going to do is try to put a V in here and do a shrink about 3/4 of the way to try and take that excess steel out. So that's something we're going to attack tomorrow. See how it works. I've been out here for just about 9.5 hours now. You can see from here the big drop in that panel in the center there. We'll see if we can get that out in the morning. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Okay everyone, we're back again, another new day. Working on this rear floor still. So the next step, I got this piece bolted in here. Like I said, I have to shrink it in the center a little bit. I've been formulating a plan for that. Did a little bit of Imagineering overnight, trying to figure out how to do that, but I think I come up with a plan. But the next thing I'm going to work on is continuing this piece of channel back to tie into the rear floor here. And I want it to go underneath this one so I can plug weld it down. I'll trim the edges and go underneath this one so I can plug weld it down. So what I've done is I cut the 2 blanks. It's going to underlap by 1.5 inches on the front and just over 3 at the back. And I pre-stepped it down before I put my 90-degree bends in these two pieces, because once I bend it, I can't get it through the bead roller. I'm hoping it's not going to distort this too much, but if it does, I can get in there and sharpen it up with my little chisel that I built for doing just such a thing. So anyhow, I'm going to bend these at 90 degrees. I'll have to put a little bit of curve in them on the shrinker stretcher, and then we can go from there. What I'm going to have to do with these pieces is I'm going to cut a slit where the channel intersects and bend this up by stretching on the outside edge here, and then my piece will go underneath, and this piece can carry on flat towards the front, and this piece will come up towards the other channel there. At least that's the way it's supposed to work in my mind. Okay guys, that worked better than I thought. I got the step down really good. Worked out well on all counts. So what I'll probably end up doing is cutting the side off and just putting the top under to plug weld. I'm not quite sure if I can do that yet or not, or if I have enough step down that it'll go inside the other one, but one way or the other it'll go in there and fit. Okay guys, I was putting this off long enough. It's time to get rid of the excess material in the center of this panel that's causing me grief. What I've started doing is a heat shrinking process. What I've got is all of the extra materials gathered up here in the center. I heat a red spot, and then I bang around the red spot with a hammer, and it forces the material into itself and gets rid of it. I've already got quite a bit of it out here. I'll just do a couple and show you. Sorry it's going to be loud, but there's no way around it. So I'm just using my propane oxygen torch, not a whole bunch of heat. I'll start on the back edge here. I'm just going to heat up a circle. Problem with doing this is it looks really ugly, and it gets way worse before it gets better. You can see it made itself a little bit of a tuck there. Go on to another spot. You'll see this will close up this edge pretty quick. This was up about 3/4 of an inch here when I started. It's already considerably better there. Just bring you around the back and show you. I'm almost flat there now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep working this until it's perfectly flat, and you can see back here I've got a pretty big pucker, so I'll have to keep working down the center here to get rid of all of that stress out of the steel. Okay guys, I'm not going to lie, this is a long, tedious process. I ran this through the English wheel. It's considerably better than it was, but I've got some really bad bubbles in here that I'm going to have to heat out as well, and just keep working at it. So I probably got close to half an hour in this already. No point in stopping. But I think if I had it to do over again, which I might still have to do it over, I would have made this piece and I would have broke a strip and plug welded it to the outside, as opposed to breaking this over at 90 degrees. It's introduced a whole bunch of stress into the panel that is tougher to get out than it would have been to do 30 or 40 plug welds around the outside edge. So I'm going to keep heating away and pounding in, get rid of all this extra material. Well guys, I'm not going to lie, that turned from ugly into a disaster. As soon as I started trying to shrink up in here, it completely ruined the whole piece. So it looks like we're starting again, because there's no coming back from that. So I'm going to try it the way I suggested. I'm going to cut this piece out, and I'm going to bend a 90 on the brake, and then I'm going to curve it with the shrinker to the right radius, and then we're going to plug weld that on to the bottom side of this. And I think that'll make everything a whole lot easier. So hopefully the second time's a charm. Okay guys, we're back again. That screw up cost me a fair bit of time, but I got the next piece built. There was a couple of things I think that were causing me the issues. One thing I noticed on my beads is they had a bit of a curve in them this way, that after I coined them, I pounded those flat, and that seemed to help quite a bit. I've got this all ready to go. I took and I broke a piece at 90 degrees, and then using the shrinker stretcher, I put it into the exact curve that I wanted, the same as this. I got everything drilled for plug welds, weld through primer on, and I'm just about to assemble this whole thing. I'm going to weld it all together, clamped to my piece of I-beam here, and hopefully that's going to help and keep a little bit of the warpage out. I'm going to do the welds fairly slowly so I don't get a bunch of heat in it. So that was definitely a learning experience, and I guess that's the first piece of steel I screwed up on this, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay everyone, well that wasn't terrible. Probably 2 hours, and I'm back to where I was when I first started this morning. I've got a really nice straight panel now, all welded together, trimmed up, ready to go in here. So just as a word of caution, on a piece this big, if you try and use the tipping die, it introduces a whole whack of stress into your piece of steel, and that cost me all that problems. So I'm just going to put this one in and get my cuts made for the frame channels, and we can maybe get this piece in there today. Okay guys, just working on the next step here. What I did was I clamped my pieces in with the clecos with this piece installed on the back. I marked the intersection point of my piece that's got the recess in it. So this will slide in like this. I put it in the stretcher, stretched it, and then crisped up this so we get this nice transition here. So next thing I have to do is put this back in, and then I'm going to have to take this to the shrinker, and in 2 spots I'm going to have to put the curve in this to line up in here. Then we can put some more spot weld holes, clecos, and start working on the side fill-in pieces. Progress, finally. Okay everyone, back again another day. Kind of an ugly day. We're getting our first snowfall of the year. Wasn't looking forward to that, but it is, I think, the 22nd of October. But anyhow, I've got these two cap pieces done, one for each side. They got the proper bends in. I've got them clecoed in front and rear. I got this bent up at the proper angle. And on this side, I've got the filler piece made that goes in to fill in the side of the frame. Nothing is simple about this thing. I had to build this special little cone that comes out to go around the fuel tank cross member. What a pain in the ass. Anyhow, that's probably to build. Well, I guess I had to shape everything for those top pieces and build that just over 2 hours here this morning already. So I'm going to carry on. I've got the same pattern I'm going to use for the passenger side. Get that done, and then I can figure out this last section of floor finally. Okay, everyone, not going to lie, that seemed to have taken forever to get this part ready to go. But I've got everything drilled for plug welds, all of the weld-through primers on, everything's adjusted, set up where it's supposed to be. So now I can get in here and start welding all this together. And then I can make this one last section of floor. Yeehaw! Okay guys, that's one hell of a big step. We have floor complete from front to back. It's 10 feet exactly from the very front toe board back to the very end here. Just take you up front, have everything plug welded in. I have to build a support for the rear, the back of the rumble seat back there, which will add a bunch of support to the floor. And a little bit of grinding to do, and that stage is done. To say I'm happy is an understatement. That was a hell of a job. I used the better part of two and a half sheets of 18 gauge steel. I've got a couple of little tiny pieces left, that's it. And 2 more on the way. So next thing we're going to get started on is going to be those inner fender wells. Actually, once we build those supports for the seat, get them put in, then we'll be starting on the inner fender wells. So anyhow, thanks for tagging along. Thanks for subscribing. And we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody.